Hello everyone, my name is Riku, and recently I got a comment on one of my Comrades expansion videos asking me to explain how breaking enemy appendages work, and I figure it's better to show than it is to tell. Breaking enemy appendages is a mixture of two different things, and they're easy to understand, but it's difficult for me to articulate it, so bear with me here. Okay, for every enemy, pretty much every single enemy in Final Fantasy XV, as well as Final Fantasy XV Comrades expansion, there is more than one place you can lock onto for every enemy. There's usually just the chest area, and then there's sometimes a head, sometimes the horn, sometimes the arm, the wing, the foot, the back, the butt, etc., etc. And if you... Okay, the two things that go into it are, one is dealing enough damage to that appendage. It works similar to the overkill mechanic in Final Fantasy X, where if you meet a certain damage requirement during a certain amount of time, in this case, you'll have a likelihood of breaking the appendage. And the other thing that goes into it is what's classified as, I'm going to say, heavy hits, which is a bit difficult to explain. Heavy hits is basically just a giant amount of burst damage that registers in the game as it's not a number, it's just a status of the attack you just used. Like charge attacks can be classified as heavy hits, critical hits can be classified as heavy hits, and heavy weapons like the great sword, I think the shield, the lance's finisher, the knife's charge attack, all of those are classified as heavy hits. And that coincides with the amount of damage you need to be dealing in a certain amount of time, and they just kind of balance each other out. So if you're attacking an enemy appendage and you deal a certain amount of damage in a certain amount of time, doesn't matter which weapon you're using, it should break. And if you would target an enemy appendage and use a mace and just jump attack it over and over, every hit is considered a heavy hit, and it takes a certain amount of heavy hits in a certain amount of time. Let's say like 3 heavy hits in like 10 seconds. So if you use like 3 knife charge attacks in less than 10 seconds, then you should get a break as long as you're dealing decent damage. And if you're using the jump attack with the mace, you're usually getting decent damage as long as, you know, it's scaled to your level and the enemy you're fighting, then you should get a break. And that's essentially how it works. Warp strikes also classify as heavy hits, and if you have the point-blank warp strike in the main game, you'll be dealing critical hits every time you warp strike, so essentially every time you warp strike is going to be considered a heavy hit, sometimes 2 at once. And if you're using a greatsword, then that's 3 heavy hits you're getting at once. And that's really the best I can explain. If it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, then I do have an example here to show you. Parrying also counts as a heavy hit, and there's a break right there. And then we can target this one, and there's a break. Possibly target the face, I'm not sure if you can break that. Oh, it died. And generally that's just exactly how it works. A lot of the time this mechanic will happen without you even noticing it, but if you want to manipulate it, it makes farming stuff in Comrades a lot easier, and it'll make battles in general for the main game a lot simpler. And these 2 requirements for breaking enemy appendages carries over from the main game as well as Comrades, so you can employ this heavy hit on and required DPS timer stratagem, I guess you could call it, over either of these games, because it works the exact same way in both versions. I'm not exactly sure if it carries over to Episode Gladio or Episode Prompto or Episode Iggy when it comes out, but I'm fairly certain it does, but I haven't really played enough of those DLC chapters to really guarantee that. But for Comrades, I can absolutely confirm that it works pretty much the exact same. Except in Comrades, these games are different, very different at their core. The main game rewards you for being defensive, and Comrades rewards you oh so much for being offensive as fuck. So Generally, just the more offensive you are, the more you parry attacks, the more heavy hits you're dishing out, and just the constant damage you're dishing out, you'll pretty much guarantee a break every single time, as long as you're dealing too much damage that you kill the enemy before you break it, because that can happen. So that's pretty much the best way I can explain it. The best way to guarantee, or at least to like 95% of the time get a break, is to use a great sword in the main game, or a shield. You can just like use a charge attack, which is just circle, delay, and then circle again. And the charge attack for the great sword almost always gets a break. I've never seen it not get a break, at least in my recent memory. And you can use the lances. They're also really good at getting breaks, as well as critical hits. So, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. And in Comrades, you can use the mace weapon. It's generally just the best overall and the most reliable for guaranteeing a break. You just, all you need to do for that is just jump and attack. And just watch your footing and your positioning, and just constantly attack the appendage with a jump attack, and that's generally the fastest, most effective way of guaranteeing a break from an appendage. Anyway, I hope this helps. If not, I will work on uploading another video with better articulation, because I'm getting sick, so I'm tripping over words right now, and my voice is going. Any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.